So hi, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Bridge Book Club, Projectiology. Tonight, we are joined by our facilitators, Marcelo Perez and Renata Pialarisi. So first, just a few reminders that we will be recording the first part of the meeting, and then we'll stop the recording when we have our discussion session. If it's a small group, we won't go into breakout rooms, but if more people join us, we will be breaking out into smaller groups so that we can have a little bit more of a discussion where we can share our experiences for the month and with the technique. And then we'll come back and we'll start recording again when we're going to present the technique for next month and close the meeting. So during the meeting, you can raise your hand. You can use your raise your hand function in Zoom, or if you want to say something, just unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat if you would like to as well. So now we have the pleasure of presenting our facilitators for this meeting. Marcelo Pires is a Brazilian. He has lived in the US since 2015. He is a metallurgical engineer with a Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and he is a specialist in continuous improvement. Marcelo's first contact with Conscientiology was in 1991, and he started volunteering in 2008. Currently, he is a volunteer at Isaac and Apex. He has been a Conscientiology teacher for Apex since 2020. So welcome, Marcelo.
Thank you.
Our next facilitator is Renata Pialarisi. She has been a Conscientiology research and volunteer since 2002, a teacher since 2003, a Penta practitioner since 2010, and verbitographer since 2012. Renata is an entrepreneur and business administrator with an emphasis on finance. Renata is a specialist in project management and quality management in health. She holds a master's degree in international business and is currently a volunteer at the International Institution of Projectiology and Conscientiology. So thank you for being here, Renata and Marcelo, and now I will hand it over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Renata and I, we would like to invite all the group to be as interactive as we can. Let's make it fun, and then having good discussions with it. We are going through the slides. If you have any questions that you feel that are coming, please bring it, and then we can go even more deeper during the debate time. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. So we are talking here about the extraphysical period of the consciousness on this chapter, on this first part of the chapter that we are covering. And when we're talking about this period, we are talking about a period that it is and could be quite different from our physical awakening time. So it is very interesting to understand the different aspects that you have. And the book, Dr. Waldo put in a very didactic way these different perceptions related with items that we already studied and discussed here during this book club. And then we are going through it, Renata and I, we are going through these different items. The first one that we had, it was about extraphysical self-awareness. Well, what it is, it's basically the consciential lucidity while we are outside the human body. And then, as we are mentioning here, we are dealing with the challenge of a different world, because we have some constraints and some, let's say, restrictions and limitations that on the physical, intraphysical world that we deal with, that we are used to. But what about what we're going to face, what we're going to see when you are in different dimensions? So that's something that you need to get an open mind and some important attributes in place that we are going through the sessions. One key thing here, it's a control of the thoughts during life, even in the extraphysical dimension, because these thoughts, they are going to be on this activity and then where we are going to be, where we're going to stay, and where we're going to go. So it's really important to, this kind of discipline, it starts when we are in the intraphysical body. That's the first way. When talking about our control of thoughts, our attention, it starts when you are in the intraphysical body, because if you don't have this discipline when you are in the intraphysical body, when you're in the extraphysical, the situation becomes more challenging. And we have here the concept that you already seen through the book, that the lucid projection, everybody leaves the body every night and could be able to recall the experience that we had. What changes, and we're going to see, it is the level of lucidity that we have, but this is a physiologic phenomenon that happens every night. Every time that we sleep, we could be completely with lack of lucidity, whole of the body, or you can really take the experience and learn from it. So it's really important to have this in mind, especially if you are new with out-of-body experience. And then as we have it in mind, we'll start to be able to, let's say, enjoy more these activities. And when we're talking here about the extraphysical period, we have some phases or facets of lucidity's degree. Okay, so, well, we can be on an ordinary level, okay, superficial, or we can have it a little bit more profound, our level of lucidity. We can be like self-awareness, like you are in the extraphysical, but you are not aware about what's happening out. What's happening? Why do I have a sea lion, okay, a male sea lion on my dream here, close to a track of a train? You can have a super awareness. You'll be aware about everything and how did you leave your body, what you are. It can be uniform. You can keep the same level of lucidity through all the experience, or you can have ups and downs. This continues. Like you have a lack of lucidity and then you wake up during the night and then you keep on going. So, and then you can have the self-awareness. Okay, it's like really you're aware about you and what you have around you. And then other important thing, it's about the appearance, because, well, you can be with the psychosoma and then just with the experience with the psychosoma, with the emotions and so on, or also you can also be in a level of lucidity that you have and you're dealing and you're using your mental soma, being only with the psychosoma or with the mental soma only. So this brings the level of lucidity to a complete different scale that we're going to see later. Renata, anything that you'd like to add on this slide here?
Okay, the next one.
Okay.
And the good thing is to know how this happens. You are practicing a lot of techniques while you are studying the book. And here we bring to you some attributes, aspects. We were talking about the dimensions, what we feel, what we really knows, and we have lucidity and a lot of things. So we try to put some of them over here because we have to study more and read more and practice more to really know how it is, okay? And here we have some attributes of extraphysical self-awareness. We have more than it, and but one little bit of them are the Conscientiology, and those attributes we have to be, how I say, aware and thinking about it, because as most we're thinking about it, we can leave this also in the intraphysical, and then at the extraphysical will be super normal. will be, we know that the consciousness is the same. It's not one consciousness at the interphysical and another one at the extraphysical, you know? And if it's the same, you can be the same, whatever dimension you are. This is the most important. But we have to know, because sometimes it's a new world, it's a new reality for us. So we have docenology, concentration, reason. Sometimes when we're talking at the next slide about the scale of lucidity, and one thing that's, to me, in my case, but I know that's a lot of person has it also, is the reason, a thing that make me aware at extraphysical, because I thought, oh, I can decide here, so I'm projected, I'm not dreaming or with some onerism, that it's another attribute, something like that, and the reason it's good for me. But I need to be this kind of thinking, or of docents in interphysical also, to make me feel it, and to make me just, I don't know if it's despertar, awake, yeah, awake at the extraphysical dimension also, right? And we have, I will not read each one, but they are the most important for us to know, that they are attributes that we have to investigate, to see if we can, how can we live, or how we use it, again, whatever dimension we are manifesting, right? And the same thing, the aspects of extraphysical self-awareness, we can make names, the paramind, we were talking about some of them also during our explanation, but we can have somnambulism, also we can, the contrapoint, coherence, we have volition, we can volitate, also maybe the best sensation at the extraphysical, when we can volitation, and a lot of them. And the one thing that also makes me feel really good is if we can be at more awake, more awareness about where we are using our mental somatic, right? Our mental soma, we talked about it also. And the extraphysical self-awareness allow us, the projector, at least these 5 initiatives, not only this, but at least this. We can control, we can, we have a paravisual, and we can change it with the morphotoscenes or anything, right? And we can decide which direction we are volitation are going to. We have a lot of different encounters, but not only different. We can make a volitation group. You have a focus together with a group studying something or assisting someone, and also we're learning a lot. And these initiatives can elevate our state of self-awareness, because it makes us more focused, more concentrated, and discovering at the point new reality that is new for us, because we are not learning about it before, but it's not really new, because there is where we was before being again at intraphysical, no? But when we start to live at the extraphysical self-awareness, it's usual and common. We have ideas in block. So we can understand about a thing or persons or these encounters, a lot of things in block. We have a lot of maybe about the energy, our perception is more, we are more sensitive because we don't have the soma, the stronger, right, or the blockades at the soma here. So it's really good for us. And multidimensionality, the emotionality without rationality impairs consciential lucidity. And it's a good point also, because you have to control it to be more awareness, right? More self-awareness at the extraphysical. The act of obtaining advanced extraphysical self-awareness is the greatest basic conquest for any lucid projector. So I think that's why we are here also, right? Because we are trying to get this conquest, right? To obtain more and more self-awareness, and with our experience make us get it. The lucid projection is a natural physiological occurrence and common to all of humanity, as Marcelo told before. It's we have to try to, if we don't do it yet, to try to treat it as a normal thing, because it is for everybody, whatever, if they have some experience or not, if they agree or not, if we don't care, because it's a real like a physiological occurrence, you know, and we have to, I don't know how I say it's in English, desdramatizar, this dramatic, exists this word in English?
De-dramatize.
De-dramatize. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to de-dramatize the extraphysical, right? And this is our reality. So it's our consciousness who we are. You can pass, Marcelo, please. And here we have the scale of lucidity of the projected consciousness. This scale is ordered sequence of factors for establishing the development of the magnificence of the phenomenon of extraphysical lucidity. So it's a form to try to be didactic, to learn and to teach about how we know or how we are with our lucidity, our extraphysical lucidity. If you are a projector, the most you have lucid projections, more we will be self-aware. And also, the most you have intraphysical lucidity, more you will be lucid in the extraphysical, as I told you before. You have to practice it and live it, and more will be normal or common to you, right? And the scale is an attempt to quantify it, composed of 5 basic degrees or percentages. So you have 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. We'll talk a little bit about each one. The first one, 10%, is a state of semi-awareness. There, we have a mixed with dreams and with oniric interference. So we don't know yet if we are projected or if we are dreaming. Sometimes if the conscious never listen about projection, they always think that they are dreaming, right? And we have some confusion at this stage. And we call semi-lucid projections. If I had heard about projections before, but if I don't, I'm always thinking that I'm dreaming. And we have some confusions over here. And that the second one is 40%, we start to having some elements of doubt. We hear about it before, about projections, and we start to ask or to question. We still are continuous with insecurity. We are insecurity during the course of extra-physical actions, but start some elements of doubt. We start to asking about, could I be projected maybe if I'm thinking, if I study a lot, if I remember some things, I can start with some doubt about it. And then in 60%, we have not elements of doubt, but some characteristics of certainty. And here we are full of convictions that we are projected. We start with critical judgment. We have it defined, right? So we have no doubts. We know that we are in extra-physical, and we know that we are projected. Whatever, if we don't know what we do with it, but we know our state, our real state. And at 80%, we are in self-awareness state. So here we have lucidity equal, or we equal here, we equal to at physical waking state. So as we are here right now, listen, my poor English, as we are here right now trying to understand the studying, when we are at extra-physical with 80%, we have the same certainty. We have the same lucidity as we are here. So we have a maximum critical judgment, not defined or starting to know about it. And at 80%, I can say that is almost the same manifestation we have in intraphysical, we have at extraphysical also. And the best thing is 100% that we are trying to, right? Because there we are super awareness. So we are more than we manifest over here at intraphysical. And there at 100%, we have lucidity superior to the maximum available in here, in the physical awakening state. Identifies the state of cosmoconsciousness. So there we have projections of the isolated mental soma. So we'll be more than we are in here. So we'll be the real who we are, right? I think I don't have any experience at 100%, but you can see that I want to. It's my big wish as projector, right? Because I think there we can have, as the cosmoconsciousness, we can have the real, a cosmovision, and maybe understand a lot of things that we would like to understand here in the physical. And then with this scale is how I say, a didactic thing, way to know, to be better. Each time we are at extra physical, or while we are making projections, we have to we need to be to want to be better, right? To take 100%. But all consciential projectors varies between the average range of 40 and 6%, because we are starting with it, right? And we have some extrapolationism, but not all the time. The most of the time we are around 40 and 6%. But I know that here in the room, we have some people that they had 80% at most, and we can hear about them after the presentation. The repressed psychological conditions interfere in the health parapsychic conditions. Why we want to put it here? Because we have, again, to be awake, to be awareness, to know that we have a holosoma, and this has influenced each soma in our manifestation, right? Okay, Marcelo, next one, please. It's okay, people. Can you understand me? And if you read it,
that's perfect, Renata. Keep going, perfect. Okay?
Okay, thank you. And here we have the consciential lucidity and perceived time. The time, it's good to, before I read and talk about these slides, it's good to know that it's not the same time, the intraphysical one and the extraphysical one. And the extraphysical sensation of time that it calls perceived time is really, really different. I don't know, but maybe if you have some projections, some lucid projections here, you maybe experienced it already, because sometimes we sleep and for 15 minutes and we have a projections that looks like a life, or one day, all day, and a lot of things happen and we have lucidity, and looks like that passed a lot of time. And when we come back, you wake and you see that, oh, I can't believe it, because only 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And the opposite is real also. Sometimes we sleep all night and have a projection that looks like for us just 5 minutes, something like this. Então, it's important because you have to, again, de-dramatize it, né? Not be a drama with the time, and we have to aproveitar. How I say aproveitar? Chico, help me. Enjoy, maybe enjoy.
Take advantage.
Take advantage.
Take advantage, yeah. And take advantage and enjoy more the time of our experience outside of the body, right? So when the time factor is not acting upon the consciousness, we're feeling free or expanded. Also, we have nothing making us like in a prison of time, of dimension, of environment. We're talking about it also. So we're feeling free or expanded. The time, the past, present, and future, they makes no sense more for us. They occur together and they coexist. So we could have a temporal pluri awareness. We can live at this 3 times at the same time. It can look like strange, but it really can occur. It's really good when if it occurs with us. The consciousness, in reference to the manifestation of attributes which anchor its lucidity, is uninterruptedly mutable, unsleeping, and almost unending. Then also we have here another state, different one than physical. And physical and extra-physical phenomena converge in order to demonstrate that the consciousness is an active reality beyond the human brain. So we are more than it. Marcelo will talk to us about the brain and the parabrain, and you can explain this. The parabrain also, the parabrain of the psychosoma appears to be the seat of the mental soma, which in turn is the seat of the consciousness. So we can we can be more self-awareness with this state, right? Semi-lucid consciential projections arise due to ignorance regarding the paraphysiology of the holosoma. So how we know the scale, we can start doing better and not to with this ignorance, right? Okay, Marcelo, is with you right now.
Yes, and then we talked a little bit about the scale. We talked a little bit about our level of awareness and the time. And what about the illumination of the extraphysical environment? Well, when you head to the extraphysical environment, you have this perception of light irradiating from a non-specific origin and consequent brightening. So we don't have in the extraphysical something like a sun that illuminates our environment during the day. It's something different. It's an indirect luminosity that does not emanate from any specific direction. It's diffuse, brilliant, and intense. So it's like having sometimes even a perception that it's the environment itself that's providing some illumination. And then with this, there is no night outside dense matter for the project consciousness, because you may be in a place that the timeline is during the day or the timeline is during the night. You're going to have this perception of this level of luminosity that will be, it may be different. You may have a different perception from it, but it's there. And then when you are evaluating the luminosity, there are 23 characteristics that we can investigate when we are in the extra-physical. First, I think that's the perception of how it is, okay, and the moment that you have, because remember about the awareness and the lucidity scale, our interaction with the environment that we have around us, you have a bias or interference from our way that we're seeing the things too. So what's our perception of it? What's the moment that we are visualizing that we have these extra-physical illumination, intensity, the colors? You can be monocolor, multicolor, you can be gray, silver. What are the colors that we see, that your perception of the colors can be different in different environments? The time, okay, and the nature of it, like it's something that looks that it's coming from a natural source, or it's something that looks like coming from a para object that's providing also some luminosity. You can have uniformity, the increase, decrease of it, also a sensation of blindness. Some people can be, I had this experience, be in a extra-physical environment. I knew that I was projected and I could not see. It was a complete absence of light in that moment. To have and to change it, the luminosity based on your desire or want to be more clear. So your lucidity can have some impact on the way, as I said, or that we interact with it. Explosions of light, extra-physical fog, and then also how we see everything and how is the luminosity when you are acting with your mental soma. Okay. So those are different characteristics that we can go through this, only this item about luminosity. And then we need to remember that we have some conditionings from the intraphysical. So it's good to evaluate that and pay attention on this as you go. And then since we have some conditionings about luminosity, there is a reflection for us. What's the influence of mesology and paramesology on our perceptions? Okay, depending on your background, okay, what your experience, what would be our experience on it? Like think about a blind person. How that blind person, you see the luminosity when that person is projected. You could be different from a person that's have a regular sight. So things that we can discuss when you go to the debate. And then as we are projected, one technique that's important, it's about the vehicle of manifestation identification. It's important for us to understand, observe through our extraphysical perceptions and the quality, circumstance in which vehicle of manifestation we are manifesting ourselves. Remember, we are out of the human body, but what is my current state? Okay, I am manifesting myself using psychosoma, or I'm using the mental soma. Do I have a perception of the silver cord? Is it present? Is it not? So you can take a look and look at if it's total or partial format. Well, sometimes we can find ourselves like in a ghost kind of appearance, like I am here and I cannot see my legs, for example, taking place. Okay. So whenever you are having this in some identification about where you are, that typically we think, it's really important to look as how we are manifesting ourselves to the others around us. And then 13 suggested variables to evaluate. How was your takeoff? It was single with psychosoma, or I have a double, like psychosoma and mental soma, or direct from the body to the mental soma. What's my acuity that I have, the departure, where it was, in which dimension I am right now, connections, the influence that I feel around, the participation, the communication that I have with around, the energies that I feel, and repercussions. So those are important aspects that we need to evaluate, and then start to understand if I'm with my psychosoma or mental soma, because the moment that I have this identification, the next thing that I need to work, it's about expansion of the project consciousness technique. So I know that I'm in the psychosoma or mental soma, what attributes and perceptions that they can expand. Remember that psychosoma, it's the body of the emotions. So first thing, if I'm manifesting myself with the psychosoma, I need to keep serene. I need to work to reduce and discard my emotionality, because my emotionality would affect my experience, would affect my rationality about how you deal with. I had experience that I was with a low level of lucidity. I found a relative that was decimated, that was not anymore using his human body. And then I got extremely emotional about that person, that it was not alive anymore. And then all the experience you may lose because of your emotion, and losing also the opportunity to do assistance. So, and then when you are there, what's the predominant sensory mode that we use, and expand these senses? Like what I'm using mainly is my visual, auditive, the olfactory, whatever, how I can, or a para perception.
I think Marcelo is frozen for his internet. Just contact.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can. You're
Oh,
back.
I'm back. Okay, so you see, I lost my lucidity and my awareness for some seconds here. So I'm back. That's an example of discontinued extraphysical, or in this case, intraphysical internet lucidity. So I was, where did you lose me?
Yeah, right before you said that, the last part, so the last couple of sentences.
Yeah, so expand your senses, because then you can get your leverage your experience. Okay, developing that particular sense to help you to increase your awareness. And then
We had a, oh, sorry,
yes,
Marcelo.
go ahead.
We just had a question, yeah, from Benoit. He was making a comment, just disagree with your emotions analysis. So Benoit, I don't know if you want to maybe unmute yourself and ask your question.
Please.
Yes, because when you spoke about the extra physical period, and you have the fact that you say the fact that when you are overloaded by emotions, you can lose your lucidity. And I just want to say that in my experience, a reasonable, not too high, but a little bit of emotion helps me to bring my consciousness right there, because emotions in a little in a tablespoon can really help you to it's like an electric shock that maintain your okay, oh, I'm here, you know, so it can be useful.
Yeah, and Benoit, one thing that's important to mention when I talked about emotions is that they help on the recalling process. Like my experience, when I have some projections that have a higher level of emotions, for me, it's easier to recall when they are more towards the mental somatic side. But it's I would say that a teaspoon of emotions when you're psychosomatic, okay, to anchor you. But when I talked about emotions, it's really, I had some experience that the emotions were exacerbated. And then on this moment, you start really to lose track or lose your control and about the actions that you do around with the other consciousness that you have with interacting with you. Not
And
sure if it makes
also,
sense.
only to, if I can contribute, it depends.
Please.
Sometimes if we are really emotionally at the extra physical, this make us bring it back. So we lose the experimenter, you know. I agree with you when you say that the emotion makes you feel like you are, that you are feeling over there, and it's good. Yeah, it is. But if you have this exacerbate, this really emotionally, at most of the time, this bring you back. You can continue with the experience, the extra physical, because it's like an attractive, the holosome attractor, you know. I don't know if you have a kind of this experience, but only to make another point about it.
Yes, I also want to comment about the emotion, because I had an experience, one in particular, that I was really awake, like conscious about my takeoff, and I was emotion there, and I could carry on, you know. I think in some way, I don't know, I just feel that I had the right amount of emotion that didn't pull me back. So I agree that emotion, if it's a lot of emotion, you come back quickly. But in some cases, right amount of emotion can also let you carry on with the experience. But we don't want to be emotional, have a lot of emotion in an experience that make you come back to your body. I think because that also happened to me once. I was having exo projection, and my body entering an acceleration, and the fear came, and I interiorized my body quickly. So that was, I lost I think one of that could be the best experience of my projections, because of emotion.
Benoit, is it okay, this comment, to make it more clear? Okay, thank you. Okay, just continue here about in the search of expanding our sense, there are some restrictive factors that we need to perform or the conditioning. Okay, so one, and we have them. Some of them look like a very common for us because they are all part of our intraphysical lives, like the ecology. What's the kind of environment that we are? Okay, the art. Okay, the self-mimicry of going through repeating things that we are linked to the art. For example, find ourselves, instead of going to a particular target during our extraphysical experience, going to art places because maybe you are the own artist of that particular pieces. The economics that we have around the world, okay, too much thinking about money, okay, about goods, karmic group. We may have our connections with our karmic group, okay, pressures, brainwashes that we have, especially when we are younger, about, for example, religion. And then this is also going into the part of education. What are the brainwashes that we received during our life? And then sometimes it's very hard to do the deconditioning if you don't have the innate ideas that it could be different. Like, oh, I'm not going to deal with a person from a particular group because that person is from a different religion or a different country. That's an anti-universalist feelings that comes this part. The profession, like there are some professions that also may instill on us some bellic or more aggressive behaviors. So those are things that when you are coming to the extra-physical, we need to work to understand what can we leave behind. And then also the psychology, what are our fears? Magali just said that she lost an opportunity of exo projection, that I would love it. And then she had the fear about that. I had fear about continuous projections sometimes, and I dropped them on the middle also. So we need to look at these restrictive factors and do our self-research and look what we need to do this process of open our mind, going beyond what it was the reactions from the intraphysical society. And then the last one, when you get the opportunity to be with mental soma, and that's something, investigate and expand ideas during the short state on mental somatic dimension. Some of the greatest ideas came from periods of projections during this time of some of scientists that get this kind of exposure.
And then we start the environment, no?
Not
no.
just orientation.
Sorry, Marcelo.
I'm going through the orientation.
I'm anxious.
And then we go to the environment. So orientation, that's exactly this act of becoming aware of our extraphysical location, where you find projected from the human body and the situation in relation to the extraphysical environment. And I'm going a little bit faster on this one here. So I have basically two categories. First, the self-psychings. That's the person to identify clearly where she is, the day, month, year, and the situation in relation to the environment, the mesology. So it's the clear perception where we are, when you are, and what's our relation with that particular environment. And then we follow psychism. That's the orientation or the notion of the consciousness itself in relation to the outside world perceived, to the cosmos. So this is going a little bit beyond of that. And then you're going to find yourself in places that they are known. Sometimes you're going to find in places that they are unknown. And then to help you to identify where you are, it's good to use the intuition as an attribute to assist the lucid projection on this orientation. And then also the recalling process, it's important because you're going to see if you are aware, for example, especially when you are in the intraphysical environments, that's a little bit easier. You can use some objects, the places, some you already visit that place. But when you are in physical environments, well, have I been there before? So we need to keep asking ourselves to investigate it. And also the objects, like license plates. If I don't know where I am, can I identify a license plate of a car? Street names, what kind of cars, the models that they have here, the buildings, or any kind of clothes that people are using. Those can help us to identify exactly where you are and orientate ourselves around the places that we are heading. And yeah. And then now it's extraphysical environments, Renata.
Okay, now it's me. And also, as Marcelo was talking about starting identifying, it's really good and better to us, to our experience at extraphysical, and those environments are location where the projected intraphysical consciousness locates outside the human body. The sphere of or dimension of life beyond the intraphysical material or human dimension of existence. And sometimes will be the same, or looks like the same, because we'll see the next slide, the paratroposphere, that's a dimension that really looks like here at our intraphysical one. But any extraphysical district, above all, constitutes a state of consciousness. And I think this is the most important thing that we could talk, and we are talking about extraphysical environments, because yes, every consciousness possesses its own personal micro-universe, and the word of each one is above all inside us, but the most important is this state of our consciousness that make the extraphysical districts, you know, about our holotal sense and everything that we manifest. And that's why. And regarding the nature and the predominant quality of our energetic human environments can be classified. So looks like the environments can be absorbing, or how I say, it's like if they are closed and it's bad, the bad ones, a high one with a little big pressure and maybe pathology ones, and can be the opposite, donating, more open, better to us, and also could be ambivalent. And like we have these environments in intraphysical, also they are at extraphysical. And the extraphysical environments can be classified also into 4 types or level: cord 1, paratroposphere, extraphysicality, and mental somatics. And the morphotal sense dominates the multiple environments, and the expression of ideas can be executed telepathically, either with or without words. So we start talking here about how we talk at extraphysical environments. And it's really important we be aware and awake about our toe sense, right? And the native language in the metasomatic dimension is conscientise. I think it's this I pronounce conscientise. And this is that language that we have all ideas in block. We only knows because we knows about everything. We don't need a lot of explanation. We just know. And I think this is really a good thing to feel and to experience at extraphysical environments. Next one, please, Marcelo. And the consciential states are often more important than the environments. It's a logical thing to think about, right? Because if our state of conscience that make the districts, the extraphysical districts, it's important, more important, those states than the environments per se. At the extraphysical dimension can be divided according to the evolutionary level of the consciousness into 4 types of environment. The first one is paratroposphere, is a duplicate of the physical or human environment and coexists with it. Looks like really the same, you know, it's really seems. In the extraphysical communities, the field of consciential energy formed by the conglomerate of morpho toe sense from group or kindred extraphysical consciousness, which are cohesive due to deep, complex, and permanent links of self-interesting. And also the extraphysical dimension per se, the native pre-existing extraphysical environment in relation to the human dimension. Thought there, we have thought and action manifested concomitantly. And there also is where we could experience the cosmoconsciousness. And when we are projected by mental soma. And the last one is FCs, the environment of the free consciousness, with no relation with any environment in intraphysical or that we know. I think is the best one, if I could tell about it, for we to again make it like a focus or where we're gonna be thinking about our evolutionary natural way, right? And then Marcellus, I think, is with you. Or
Yes.
is that again? No, Mr. Somato. Okay.
And then we are not going into very much details on all the types of dimensions that we Renata just presented, but I think that's good to make a deeper visit to the mental dimension, because it's in the environment that it's native to the mental soma. Okay, and then this also would be the storehouse of the universal consciousness or the mental plan. It's the so-called archive register that we had in the history before, and that could be really a place that it's a meeting for all the lucid consciousness. And then we can have some questions that we can discuss later. Is the mental somatic dimension immutable, or does it evolve, okay, or this change? What's the relationship between the mental somatic dimension and the so-called cosmic engineers? And can it be said that the basic consciential energies stem from the mental somatic dimension? I'm not sure about these questions, but that's something that we can talk about.
They are good questions, right? To the debate later.
Yes.
And here we start with extra-physical sphere of energy. And the extra-physical force field, this is the sphere of energy with 5,000 13 feet or 4 meters radius that envelopes the human body of the projector. And we have various phenomena occur with greater intensity inside the extraphysical sphere of energy. Here we have some of them. Also, I will not read each one. We have more than this, but we have a lot of phenomena that occur this, and we are easy to perceive in this sphere of energy. The quality and intensity of the extraphysical sphere in and out and of itself generate conditions which predispose the installation of diverse altered states of the intraphysical consciousness. And the human aura, as example, is directly related to the extraphysical sphere of energy and can be visible to the clairvoyant and to projected interphysical consciousness, or also if the consciousness is more sensitive and the intraphysical also, he or she can see it. And finally, the extraphysical sphere of energy of the more lucid and free extraphysical consciousness is different, being more involved. So it also help us to make this state of consciousness. Okay, Marcelo?
Okay. I was just on the chat with Benoit.
Sorry.
So we are going to through two parts of the now that human brain and the para brain. We need to remember that Dr. Waldo, it was a physician, so he really dives into details on it. So I don't have this background, so I'm going to try to give a little bit in not going into medical terms here. But really, one thing that we need to agree is that the human brain is the most organized organ or gland that we have into the human body. Okay, so it's only 2% of the human body's weight, but it's a very high level of oxygen consumption to make this machine works. And then 80% of it, it's being water. And then I think that the key part here is that we need a tool for the consciousness to manifest itself on the body, and then to help it. So if you think about more like a way, it acts like a driver. You have the mental soma that it's coming a lot of our ideas about our thoughts, the psychosoma that about the feelings, emotions, have it going through the parabrain and it going to the brain. And then, as I said, with complex physiology, and then this is presented center of the sphere of energy that Renata just mentioned here. And also Renata, she mentioned that it houses the parabrain before. And one thing that's important, it's just like our lungs, we have a condition that we can have an empty condition, like inhaling and expiring the air. Okay, we also can have some conditions that we have a empty condition with the brain. Anytime when you transfer the seat of the conscious side of the human body. So the moment that we are going out of our body with the lucid projection, the brain continues to work in a physiological way, but he is kind of empty. He doesn't have our consciousness anymore. We are manifesting itself in other dimensions. And then one that we have here, in the parabrain, that's the physical counterpart of the brain. And this does make this connection between the mental soma and the brain. I had one retrocognition that I was in the intermissive course, and then I received all the information that I needed for on my current mission in block. And all the 5, 6 of us, we received the same information at the same moment. And then the helpers came to us and say, now you have a lab in front of you. You need to do it step by step because you need to transfer this block information to your parabrain because you need to transfer it from soma to the parabrain. So you are going to be able to transfer it to the, because if you don't do that, it'll be impossible to get this information directly from the mental soma to the brain. So this has an important function about to help this channeling of the information to the brain. And then it is the house of the mental soma. And then I'm not going to cover right now, but we have some properties here. The one that I want to mention, it's about, remember, we discard our brain through several lives. Okay, at the end of each life, we discard our brain. But when you talk about the parabrain, it continues with us. Okay, and we are just going to have a mutability on it, self-transfigurability. And then as over the life, we are going to expand it and enhance it as we evolve. And then that's you, Renata.
Okay.
I'm going to check the chat here.
We talking about general extraphysical perceptions, and it is a reception or registering of an extrasensory or parapsychophysiological impression in the consciential centers of the interphysical consciousness projected from the human body. So it's, I can say that it is what we feel, what we are feeling when we are in extraphysical dimension, right? The interphysical consciousness projected from the human body registers information through 3 basic, well-defined processes. They are paratelepathy, paraclairvoyance, and paraintuition. They are phenomena, right? And we have these 3 that's why they say basic, because it's really the, how I say, as if we are at the first stage when we are projected, you know. And the general impressions in the extraphysical dimension can be classified also into positive, negative, or ambivalent. As we feel it here in intraphysical, the same we feel at extraphysical dimension, you know. And the projected consciousness upon experience correct impressions at any level of lucidity always has the corresponding intuitive sensation of whether it is proceeding correctly or incorrectly in a cosmoetical or anti-cosmoetical manner. So it's good for us be again awake and self-awareness about what we are doing at extraphysical, and at the same way what we are feeling over there, how are our perceptions, because sometimes we are experiencing like we are blind because we have no luminosity, but we feel, we perceive maybe extraphysical helpers or the need of assistance over there, and we have to be our self-awareness about it, you know, and the perceptions could help us a lot.
Yeah. And then just moving here to the extraphysical vision. That is the perception of the intraphysical consciousness when projected from the human body. And then when you go to this chapter, and don't worry, I'm not going through any one of these 23 characteristics, okay? But one thing that it's important to mention is that when we are in the extraphysical, we can have just from a limit perception about what we are seeing, like even the darkness. Like I had one projection that once I could not see anything. I knew what I was, but I see anything, to like a global 360 vision perception about seeing with not only with the para eyes, but with every single cell that we have, or a cell, you can see it. So it goes from one level to an extremely opposite level that sometimes you can have an idea intraphysically. When you are, this week I was dealing with a camera that it was a 360 camera, and then the software, how you do it, because you go, you select, you make the zoom about one region, but imagine that you don't need to make the zoom. You can have the
I think we may have lost Marcelo again. Let me send him a message. Maybe I will share
Okay.
the
And
presentation.
also, Michiko, this was the last slide before the
Oh,
thank
okay.
you.
Okay.
So we can, yeah, you can end it. That was my suggestion. And Marcelo, I suppose that he's coming back.
I'm
Oh,
back.
he's here. You're back.
Okay.
I
Sorry for
told
that.
I told them that it was the last one, so we can share the rooms. I don't know if we are
Yeah.
sharing the rooms or.
Yeah, it's just, I think that's just there is a last one that is extra
Okay.
physical attention. Am I sharing again? Yes. Okay, so that's really a silhouette of the project consciousness to some idea, object, or thing. It's basically your capability to be focused or distracted. Okay, and I think that this is a phrase that I got from the book that I think that's wonderful. The control or fixation of the attention is the replaceable foundation for the improvement of the extraphysical perceptions and the improvement of the quality of the experiments of the intraphysical consciousness during the excursions outside the human body. So I think that this closes these slides very well, this statement from the book. And then I think that we can go to the questions and the debate. I'm not sure if you're going to break in rooms or if you're going to do everybody together.
Yeah, so I think we can break into rooms. There's enough people to have a few rooms, and then we can get smaller groups together to discuss a little bit more, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. So I'll set up the rooms now, and maybe we will talk for about 15 minutes. Let's see how we go, and then we'll come back together. So I'll stop the recording now and put everyone into the breakout rooms. See you soon. So anyone has questions or anyone would like to share either from your group discussion or anything else that you wanted to share with about your experiences?
One each time, how we say in Brazil, one each time to hear everybody.
Yes.
I think that the question about the evolved and the underdeveloped mental somatic dimension that was on the slide may took place, happened to other people too. So this is not a reality for me. I don't recall to have a mental somatic projection. But on the projectiology, Dr. Waldo, he describes two different levels. One, it would be what he called the underdeveloped mental somatic dimension. That is a dimension that it's it's a kind of punctual sphere of energy. So the consciousness is still have some level of energy and some level of emotions is still attached, and there is still a kind of space present, but starting to have all the mental somatic attributes in place. And advanced or evolved dimension that was presented on the book, it was when really there is no feeling of body anymore, no more of these energies and the emotions in place. When you're going to find it in the mental somatic level. Okay, so that was one question that we have from Mihaela. And then it was a very good question. And then I said, okay, let me go back to the book and check what we have there. And then I read the description, because I only have projections of psychosoma that I can recall in this existence.
I had a. Is it okay to jump in, or was there somebody else coming?
Please.
Yeah. So I had a note. Something sort of, I found it a bit jarring in the book. The fact this concept that the mental soma without energy, this idea that one is more, I think uses the word more primitive or more rudimentary, and the other one is more evolved, right? This hierarchical thinking around something like that doesn't quite sit right for me, because I guess I have the sense of, like you say, with human evolution, or with evolution of life, an amoeba and a human being are both perfectly involved for the environment that they occupy and for the role that they play in the universe. And it's not really correct to say that one is more evolved than the other in that sense, because they're playing different roles, right? And so for the consciousness to interact with the physical dimension, it needs a soma, an ergosoma, for the I don't know what the distinction is, but I expect, my hypothesis would be that there is a very good reason for a consciousness to manifest with a mental soma with some energy, just as there is a very good reason for us to project and have the psychosoma with energy, for assistential purposes, to navigate the interdimensional space, right? To navigate the space between the pure mental soma, the evolved psychosomatic, extraphysical dimension, and so on. All these gradations need different frequencies, different levels of energy. So that's just kind of a comment, really, right? But I just found this language of this is because it conveys the sense that one is better than the other, and I just don't know. I just feel that's misses well, for me it doesn't sit right. I think they have different roles, and one is better for a different role than the other.
Yeah, I would, you use like the application for each environment, and I think that's a good comment. But one thing that I think that when talking more evolved and less evolved, it's linked to the scale of the consciousness evolution. Like we have, as you said, Ken, the soma, the ergosoma, or in our evolutionary level to interact with the environment that we have. Well, it comes some consciousness as they go beyond the Serenismus level. Comes a moment that for that particular consciousness, they don't need to interact anymore with this environment that we have, physical environment. So they go through the process of the three thanatoses. So they don't need anymore the soma, the energosoma, and then it comes a moment that they discard the psychosoma. So for that evolutionary level, they took a decision that they need only the mental soma. And then what it does, what it happens on that frequency axis level, we are not going to understand clearly at this moment. At least it's something that's materiological for me. But it is this, it seems that it's this level, you're going to be able to still contact with the mental somatic dimension, but there is this frequency axis, they are going to be only in the pure mental somatic dimension. That was my understanding. And then we need to be careful about the terms that you use it, but I think that this idea is that some of these that are a kind of sphere of energy, they are projected, don't belong yet, they are not, let's say, a permanent resident of the mental somatic dimension. And then when you are there, you are a permanent, when you are a permanent resident of the mental somatic dimension, you're not going to have this sentiment or this sphere of energy to manifest yourself so easily.
I think that
comments, Magali?
Oh, sorry, Marcelo.
No, go ahead,
you
please.
finish? Okay.
Yes.
So it's not about the bodies, the hierarchy of the bodies, but more how the consciousness use the body. Is the evolution of the conscious that use all these things to manifest. I think there is where you see the hierarchy, because there is more evolved consciousness to use the body.
Yeah, I agree. I think Benoit was saying the same thing in the comments, and yeah, I agree with that as well. I just think there in the book, the language appeared to be used to the experiential level. You know, one experience being more evolved than the other, and that's probably, yeah, that's the thing that I just didn't sit quite right for me.
Okay, other questions?
Anyone else? Or Renata, Marcelo, any other closing points that you wanted to discuss?
Renata, you first for me.
No. I was thinking about, I would like to tell and lead to us thinking about our paraprocedence. I don't know if I feel like this, if it's right, but it's important because you told about the hierarchy and the need and levels of lucidity. And I think it's important to remember that we are not human, right? And we stay human. And it's really important to our evolution. And it's really important to us live better here and be our better version. But it's also important to remember that this is not us, not who we are. We are more than it, you know? And I'm telling about it because the life is an opportunity, is an evolutionary opportunity, but it's only a piece, a little piece of our history, or to expand who we are. And I think it's important we remember that we are not from here. You are not this human body. We have to take care about it also, right? But when we think about our paraprocedence, when I think about my paraprocedence, I think bigger. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I think bigger. I see more things that I see with my only vision in my human body. I feel more things that I feel over here. I manifest. I have more acts better than I have here at Interphysical. You know. That's, I think I can close my speak with this, just to remember who we are, who we really are. Where are you from? I think it's the best thing to us to know instead with the projections. Thank you for all.
Thank you, Renata. And I found your comments excellent here, and I agree 100%. And well, one thing that's important, it's all about the attention of what everything starts in our intraphysical period. Okay, what my level of attention, what my thoughts, what my sentiments. These you get an influence on what I do and what will be my interaction and extraphysical. And then one thing about self-research and the intraphysical recycling that we need to do in our lives, I think that it's the opportunity that we have to qualify ourselves and having better experience when you are on the extraphysical period. And then this opportunity, this bridge book got me a wonderful time to review these concepts and to revisit this book that I read some years ago. And then I would like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here and the questions, the interactions, the debate that we have here. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Renata. Thank you, Marcelo. And to close, Magali is going to present the technique that we will be practicing for this month.
Okay, sorry. So the technique for this month will be triggering object factor technique. What is that? So we use in this case an object that we have curiosity, we are emotional attached, like for example, a letter that we receive and we haven't opened yet, or a present that we have received and we haven't opened yet, something that you have curiosity, a book that you bought but you haven't read yet. So we are going to get this object and we are going to put this object in another place in our home. And so that object will trigger our curiosity to go out of our body and look at this object and try to see what there is there. So I will let you to read the technique. I'm just more or less explaining general think about this technique. So, and that's it. I hope everyone try to read and try the technique for this month, and then we can discuss the next time. Okay, I'll put it here also, and also in the chat, here in the chat, and also in our WhatsApp group. Who is not part yet of our WhatsApp group, you can join us. Just let me or Michiko know and we can send you the link. Okay, so thank you, Renata and Marcelo, very much. I enjoyed it a lot. I think people also. And see you next time, right? Everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you next month. Thank
Renata
you.
and Marcelo, you just can wait for our meeting, okay? Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.